The Spider-Verse movies are perfect, so when Marvel introduces Miles to the MCU, they can't just do it again. They need something that could only exist in live action, in this specific universe. This is that pitch, and I need you to stay for the clone arc, because this film's villain sends Miles' worst moments against him. His shame, his fear, his cruelty, all made flesh. That's what I'm pitching today, and let's get straight into it. We begin with the Daily Bugle. On today's episode, the cost of vigilantes. After the Avengers cause global shock at Ground Zero and US-Canada relations are worsening, we ask the question, when will the madness end? It's time to be done with heroes. We cut to the middle of a session between Miles Morales and his therapist. He's telling her that he was dealing with a bully, and it feels like there are bullies all around these days. We cut to a fight between Miles and the Bumbler. He's a joke villain. He dresses up as a bee, but Miles is really struggling to take him down. We cut back to the session. The therapist asks Miles how he dealt with it. Miles says he was just trying to do the right thing. Just follow that great power, great responsibility thing. The therapist says, "Oh, your Spider-Man books. Your mum gave you those books, didn't she?" Miles nods his head. The therapist says, "Well, did it work?" We cut back to the fight. Clearly, it's not working. Miles is fumbling around and the Bumbler's about to get away with a whole bank's worth full of cash. We cut back to the session. Miles says, "Not really, but I won anyway." Therapist says, "How?" We cut back to the fight one last time. Just as the Bumbler is about to get away, Miles uses his Venom Blast, electrocuting the Bumbler and knocking him out. And we cut back to therapy. Miles has a grin on his face and says, "Well, the bully must have gotten a cramp." The next day, we see Miles at school, attending Brooklyn Visions. This is a really competitive school, but Miles just managed to get in. But no one's talking about their education, because all people are talking about is a mysterious death that they heard about on social media. As Miles walks in, the classroom is in uproar, people shouting over each other, debating about something. Miles asks what's going on, until he hears that the Bumbler was killed on his way to prison. Miles is stunned. Sure, the Bumbler's a nuisance, but he didn't deserve to die. One of his classmates pipes up. "I'm sick of these costumed lunatics. After what the Avengers did in Canada, they all need to go. Especially people like the Bumbler. No one's going to miss the guy anyway." And it's at that moment that Miles looks up, wiping tears out of his eyes and says, "Well, Spider-Man believes that people can change, to grow into the people that they're meant to be for the rest of their lives. The Bumbler was only really our age, and now he's gone, and you think that's a good thing?" Feeling proud of himself, Miles goes to sit down, until the tables turn. One of his classmates turns to him and says, "Wait, hang on a minute, isn't that an exact quote from that Spider-Man children's book?" All of a sudden, a proud moment is turned into a moment of brutal humiliation. He's mocked by all of his classmates. And just as the teacher walks in to find out what's going on, Miles is nowhere to be seen. In fact, he cannot be seen. He's turned invisible for the first time, and he's used the power to run away. He escapes the classroom, and he runs into the toilets. He's surprised by this new power, but he just feels worse. Ganke, his best friend, comes into the room and asks Miles what's going on. He tells Ganke that he just unlocked a new power, and before Ganke celebrates, Miles tells him to calm down because it's not a good thing. He was meant to stand up for himself in there, but he just made everything worse. After a really long day at school, Miles goes home to have dinner with his family. And it's here that we learn that family means everything to Miles. Miles doesn't really want to talk about what happened at school, but his dad asks how everything's been since the X-Men attack. Miles says, "Dad, the X-Men didn't attack the school, they were protecting us." But his dad isn't so sure. You see, during the X-Men movie that's up on my channel right now, an anti-mutant task force was deployed into Brooklyn Visions. The X-Men arrived to save the students, but some people saw it differently, and that includes Miles' dad. His dad adds, "Oh yeah, sure, great protection, just like the Avengers were protecting us when they blew up Canada. Promise me, son, you'll stay away from these stupid people." Here we understand that Miles can really feel unseen at times, both literally and metaphorically. But still, despite their differences, they're a family, and they protect each other even when they have different opinions. And because Miles' family is everything to him, what happens next hurts a hell of a lot more. Miles says that he's going to go to bed early. He hugs his parents goodnight and goes upstairs, where he immediately opens the window and goes on a typical nighttime stakeout. It's here that Miles encounters Starling. This is his most famous love interest in the comics, and it's a character that I really love. Here, Starling is a confident character. She's sure of herself. And with Starling, Miles fights crime the whole night. There's something about her that Miles feels drawn to. It's not just that they have things in common, it's the fact that she feels so free. Her flying through the sky is exactly what she must be doing in her real life. To Miles, Starling is perfect, and he wishes he could be like her. And just as the night is about to wrap up, there's one final crime scene. But when they arrive, the crime scene's already been dealt with. It's surgical. It's clearly not done by any kind of vigilante. And it's a bloodbath. Whatever happened here was horrific. This wasn't someone trying to fight crime, it was someone trying to end the criminal. One of the criminals is being wheeled away on a stretcher, and Miles catches him just before he's taken to the ambulance. What happened here? The criminal looks at him wide-eyed and says, I don't know. One moment my friends are here and the next, their guts are all over the floor. Miles says, who did this? What did he look like? The man says he wore a suit and tie and he had a silver face. He looked at us like we were specimens, like animals. Miles says, what did his mask look like? Tell me more. The criminal says, not a mask, his face. His actual face was silver. And there's a device left on the scene. Miles picks it up and turns it over, and it says property of the assessor. At school the next day, Miles is the happiest he's been in a while. Ever since he met Starling, he can't get rid of this feeling. This feeling that he's met someone who's going to be important to him for the rest of his life. He's talking to Ganke at lunch, but Ganke doesn't really seem very interested. He's interested in that device. He says, the assessor. I've not heard of a company by that name. Wait a minute, do you think this is to do with that bee guy? And the realization hits Miles like a ton of bricks. Wait, the bumbler? You think the assessor has something to do with it? All of a sudden, it feels like Miles' world has come crashing down. Sure, maybe all of this was just a coincidence, but he knows in his gut that it isn't. The assessor is dangerous. He expresses his worries to Ganke, and Ganke says, don't worry, we'll figure it out. Just meet me tomorrow. I'm sure at the lab we can take that device apart and find out what makes it tick. Miles sits down for dinner and he's feeling out of sorts. And what his parents say doesn't make anything any better. They ask him how therapy's going. They say that the school called them and told them what happened at class the other day. They ask Miles why he didn't just share it with them. If he's being bullied at school, then they can help. To Miles, it feels like they're just prying into his life, trying to pick him apart. And Miles lashes out saying they don't understand him. They're only putting him in therapy because they're scared of what happened with the X-Men, even though the X-Men are heroes. They're just too stupid to see it. He says that his parents don't really care about him. All they care about is just throwing money at every problem they see without actually taking the time to understand how he feels. Maybe some of this is true, maybe none of it's true. But what's definitely true is that Miles' mum is hurt. She says that people say words can never hurt you, but when they come from family, they cut deep, and she starts to cry. Seeing his mother cry is like a shot to the heart for Miles, and he runs upstairs slamming the door. He's ashamed of himself, but he just doesn't really know how to handle what he's feeling. Miles reaches under his bed and opens the Spider-Man book that his mum gave him all those years ago. He finds a quote, Spider-Man never stops, even when he's tired, because someone always needs him. Miles looks up at his suit, and he swings out into the night sky. But Miles is alone, angry, and completely off his game, which is exactly when the assessor makes his first move. After taking down some criminals, Miles starts to feel off. It feels like his lungs are burning up, and his spider sense is going crazy, and he falls mid-swing and hits the ground hard, knocking him out, and he wakes up in a dark room tied to a chair with his mask removed. For the first time, Miles and the assessor come face to face. He wears a slick suit and tie, and he has a silver face with jet black eyes. With his every movement, Miles hears the whirring of gears inside him. The assessor isn't a person, he's an android. Looking into those eyes, Miles feels nothing but pure terror. He can see his bloody nose and battered reflection, and he knows that he's in deep, deep trouble. Miles asks the assessor, who are you? Where am I? The assessor says that who he is isn't important, and before Miles can say another word, the assessor says, please lower your cortisol levels, subject. You're ruining the tests. Miles desperately tries to look around to find out where he is, try and figure out a plan to escape. He feels around his wrists and knows that he's been tied up with metal chains. That's good. He can use his venom blast to try and get out. He just needs to buy some time. Miles tries to put on a brave face and gloat, saying, I'm Spider-Man, I'm gonna stop you. And the assessor says, you're not Spider-Man, you're patient zero. Miles looks to his side to see loads of his blood being drained into containers. What's going on here? Miles feels himself weakening by the second. If he's gonna get out, he has to get out now. He summons all of his strength and uses a venom blast to blow up the chains. The assessor snaps his head back. Curious at this new power that he didn't know Miles had, the assessor tilts his head to the side. Interesting. We'll see what else you can do. And he disappears. Now, the only way out is through, wherever here is. And through means facing two versions of himself that he's been running from the whole movie. If you're enjoying this video, subscribe right now, because my next film pitch covers The Flash. And if you want to see a sequel to Miles Morales' Spider-Man, drop me a comment down below. Let's get back into the video. Miles starts to explore his surroundings and comes upon a door. Opening it, he sees a massive atrium with screens all around, and his heart sinks. There's footage of Miles all over these screens, but not just him as Spider-Man. Footage of Miles before the spider bite. The assessor isn't just studying Spider-Man, he's studying Miles as an individual. Footage from his birthdays, the first time he went to school, hanging out with Ganke in the lab, a place that only him and Ganke know about. Suddenly, everything about Miles is exposed. And coming off the main atrium, there are 3 doors. 2 are open, 1 is sealed. The assessor controls what Miles faces and when. The first villain is one inside his head. Behind door number 1, Mind Spinner. He's more spider than man, propping himself up on 8 human-like legs and beaming a vision directly into Miles' mind. He sees his father barely clinging on to life. He looks up at Miles and shouts at him, "You're a stupid kid for being Spider-Man. It's because of you that you're going to get me and your mother killed. I was right to hate you. The world is right to hate you." Miles is frozen with shock. He's overwhelmed by this vision, by the voice of his father. But he remembers all of the happy moments he's had with his father. They might disagree, but his father loves him so much. Everything he says is just to protect Miles, even if it sometimes comes across the wrong way. And by seeing through the illusion, Miles comes through. And behind door number 2, he finds Selim. This is the clone that looks the most like Miles, the one that hits the hardest. Miles' mind is still reeling from his fight with the Mind Spinner, and he doesn't know how much more he can take. And then, Selim brandishes 2 knives. Miles' mum told him that words cut deep when they come from family, so Selim's knives are those exact words made real, come back to cut Miles and haunt him. The only way for Miles to win is to choose kindness over cruelty. Miles reasons with Selim. He tells Selim he doesn't just need to be a slave anymore. And Selim realizes that he's just a clone developed to be a prototype for the assessor's evil machinations. The assessor promised him life, but this is no better than death. Selim drops his knives, telling Miles that he'll help him escape. But suddenly, he collapses. Writhing in agony, he's dead before Miles even knows what to do. Selim disobeyed, and now he's dead. The assessor has ultimate control. And now, the 3rd and final door is unlocked. Miles steps through and finally finds the assessor. The assessor isn't scared or shocked, he's amused, he's excited. Miles is more resourceful than he ever imagined. The clones were meant to be prototypes of the ultimate Spider-Man, but now he realizes there's something that he missed. And when he defeats Miles, the tests that he's going to perform are going to be more rigorous than ever. He's going to find what makes Miles tick, even if it means pulling his neurons apart piece by piece. And the assessor starts tearing himself apart. No, not tearing, multiplying, duplicating at rapid pace. Suddenly, the room is filled with multiple clones of the assessor, each as perfect and as ruthless as the last. Throughout the movie, Miles has been up against an unstoppable force. He's trying to become Spider-Man in a world that hates heroes. Now, the assessor is the unstoppable force made real. But through his tests, Miles has become the immovable object. Facing down the assessor, knowing this could be the last fight of his life, Miles reflects, and in that moment a memory comes to him. His mother giving him those Spider-Man books for the very first time, them sitting together, her reading to him, telling him how much she believes that he is going to be a hero one day, a great man who'll change the world for the better. Miles feels the electricity flowing through him, every nerve bursting with power. He opens his hand, and an electric sword appears. Miles says, "I'm not your patient. I'm Spider-Man." He moves around the battlefield more powerful and agile than ever before, combining his webs and invisibility to dart around the field, and with one last swing, the final assessor goes down. Relieved, Miles takes a deep breath and makes his way towards the exit. After defeating the assessor, Miles immediately swung home. Every muscle in his body was screaming to rest, but Miles needed to know if his family was safe. He bursts through the door, still in costume, to see his family there. His mother sat on the sofa crying, and his dad is trying to console her. They look up, and they burst into even more tears. Miles has been gone for 3 long days. Everyone in his life has been trying to search for him. The police, Ganke, even Starling. Now, Miles is finally back home, and he embraces his parents. The next day, Miles is swinging when he notices a kid crying in an alley. He drops down and talks to the kid. "Mr. Spider-Man, the kids at school bully me. They all treat me like I'm some kind of freak. I try to be nice, but they just don't listen." Miles says he understands how the kid feels. He rests a hand on the child's shoulder and says, "Here, I want to give you something." And Miles takes the Spider-Man book out of his backpack and gives it to the kid. Spider-Man isn't childish, but children need someone to believe in. Miles opens the book and leaves a note. "From your new friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." Suddenly, a voice cries out from above. "Hey Spidey, long time no see." He looks up to see Starling waving at him, and with a grin, he waves the kid goodbye and swings off into a brand new day. If this video convinced you that Miles needs his own MCU movie, hit subscribe right now. because my MCU reboot Phase 4 is in the works. Hit subscribe right now and enjoy the post-credit scene. We see someone who has a personal grudge against Miles Morales. Brooklyn Visions is a hard school to get into, and Miles took her spot. She's scavenging the assessor devices left across New York. The small device that Miles picked up off the crime scene earlier in the movie wasn't the only one, and this girl has a bunch of them, and now she's going to use them to come after Miles Morales. She doesn't know that he's Spider-Man, but she doesn't care. He has to pay.